death. God, I'm going to die. It's all bad. I'm going to die. It's not good. I'm going to die. Maybe right now. Hey there, I'm Beth, and this is another Froud's Fairy card. We're talking about death today. So yeah, death. Oh my God, it's so scary. And actually, this is probably one of my favorite representations of death, of this shrouded figure holding. Froud says it's a crystal. I'm like, is it an apple? Is it a pomegranate? What is it? Froud says it's a crystal. I think you can have it be whatever you want it to be, whatever death tells you it is. Death is not, oh my God, you're going to die. This is one of those cards that people get a little freaky over, and I admit even myself has had that moment where I've been like, no. It's been quite a while now, a long time ago, back when I first started this. Death was my year card in the tarot. And I was using this deck at the point in time. And guess what kept coming up? Death. I mean, like, statistically shouldn't be getting death that frequently that year. And it just kept coming up, and I kept, nope. I just shuffled it back in. I was like, nope. And then finally one day I'm like, okay, I'll let it sit out for 24 hours. I'll acknowledge you for 24 hours. And that's when things started to change. Because that's really what death is about, is change. And it's time for a natural ending to happen, to have a release, some form of liberation. Something is ready to end, and you need to acknowledge that and move on from it. Because if you don't, believe me, it's not a lot of fun, because I spent half a year trying to avoid that change. And guess what? Did not work. Death just, was still there. Was hanging out, waiting for me to be like, okay, maybe he'll let that change in. Maybe. Because basically I spent like half a year being like, no. I spent 3 months being, maybe. And then I spent the last part of the year going, hell yeah, let's change. And those last 3 months were brilliant. The first 6 months kind of sucked. The maybe was okay. But that last part where I opened up and said yes to the change that death was bringing in was really good. And I really needed it. And it was worth it in the end when I finally did it. And I got so into that change that by the time the year ended, I was supposed to change cards. And this is with the tarot, so it was the Hierophant that I was moving into next. It was kind of like tripping and stumbling into that other new energy. It's like, whoa, this is so different. But yeah, death. It means something's ready to end. And you need to embrace that in moving to the next phase of life, of what's going to happen, because change can be really good. And the fear and the unknown, everything's unknown. In about 5 minutes is unknown. I don't know what, probably going to be filming is what I'm going to be doing in 5 minutes. But truth be, I don't really know that. 1 minute out, I don't know what's really going to happen. The fear of the unknown, sometimes we just need to be like, yeah, I don't know it, and that's okay. As opposed to being like, yeah, I don't know it, and that's not okay. We want to know everything. We want it all laid out. And you don't always get that. You don't always get that. And sometimes even how you think it should happen is not how it happens. So you have to be open-minded. Even though, I would just say be open-minded, because what you think you need may not totally be what you need, and how it's happening may not be the way it's going to happen. But if you keep missing what's happening because you think it's not going to happen that way, you kind of get stuck in that point, because you got little blinders on and it keeps going by, and it's like, because a lot of this stuff will circle back, will circle around, and give you multiple chances to acknowledge it. But you're ready for it. This is change that needs to happen. When death keeps showing up in your life, it's time for some big changes. And it's a natural timing for it. It's not like like you're not ready for it. You may not be acknowledging you're ready for it, but you're ready for it. It's a time for a big change. It's part of the life cycle, and you need to be willing to move into that new unknown part and see what's there, because it can be really cool. Because if you don't do it, if you I do like me that first 6 months of my death year, you're blocked, you're stuck in place, you're unwilling to change. And a lot of times too, when you're in this space, you know that you need this and you should be like working with it. But no, you're like, no, I can't do it. You block it. You keep staying in the same place as much as you can. You're unwilling to grow, clinging to old concepts that aren't working out. And tell you the truth, in the end, that blocking this change that death is bringing in is exhausting. It gets to the point where it's easier to say maybe and start letting it in, and then saying yes and changing. But I obviously needed to go through those 6 months of just saying, no, I don't want to change. So I could, till I was fully prepared. I don't know. It was a detour. And really on that detour, all I learned was I should have paid attention to death and started changing. But since we're human, we don't always do the smart, easy way. We like to make it hard. We like to make it complicated and difficult. And so we cling to what we've outgrown. It makes it more harder and more painful. And in the end, the only way out of this blocked, stuck feeling that you have is to be willing to change. Quite frankly, having been there, I can tell you it's the truth. Do it. Open to the change. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah. Because really I did. I fought death hardcore. And since I was using this deck as my primary deck, I got this card almost every freaking week. And I'd shuffle it in and be like, nope, I'm not going there. Until I finally said, okay, maybe I'll go there for at least 24 hours. And that created enough of a chink that I was able to start seeing how I needed to change and why I needed to change and why I should change and I should stop fighting all this stuff that was going to be changed. Ironically, too, my word of the year was forward. So death and forward, and that was the year the snake was also a sign. It was also change came into my life. Yeah, forward and death. That. And I resisted both for 6 months. I resisted my word of the year that I chose willingly and death. But when I fully embraced that willingness to change, it did change. And it was really, really good. The more you can direct it, the more you're willing to participate, the more you're going to get the change you want. The more you ignore it and just let it happen, because you're going to get change, period. It's going to happen. You're just not going to get what you want. You're just going to get handed some random thing of change and be like, how'd that happen? I didn't ask for that. I want something else. And that's where working with it and being willing to do it, because if you're working with it, then you're like, yeah, I'm going to get the change I want, or at least most of the change you want. Because, there's always a question mark there. What do you really want? What's really going to happen? How's it going to show up? But yeah, open up to death. Let the endings happen and start into the new. It's going to be brilliant. Everyone have a wonderful day and go out there and be the love in the world.